Yashodanandana Srimad Bhagavatam Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. 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 Narayanam Namaskritya Chaiva Narottamam Devim Saraswatim Vyasam Nashtaprayeshu Bhadreshu Nityam Bhagavata Sevaya Bhagavatyuttama Shloke Bhaktir Bhavati Naistiki. Hare Krishna. So, reading from Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 9, Chapter number 10, Text number 4. This is a very long verse, but it summarizes the entire story of the Srimad Ramayana that Sukadeva Goswami is describing to Parikshit Maharaj. So I will first read the verse and then maybe we can do word to word. Guru Arte Tyakta Rajyo Vyacharad Anuvanam Padma Padbhyam Priyaya. Canto 9. Chapter 10, text number 4.
9-10-4.
9-10-4. Yes. Pani sparsha kshamabhyam mrijapatha rujoyo harindranujabyam vairupyad shurpanakai priyaviraha rusharopita bruvrijamba Trishtabdhi Bhadda Setu Khaladhava Dahana Koshalendravatan. Again, reading that verse. Gurvarte Tyakta Rajyo Vyacharat Anuvanam Padma Padbhyam Priyaya Pani Sparshakshamabhyam Rijita Patharujoyo Harindraanujabhyam Vairupya Churpanakaya Priyaviraha Rusharopita Bruvrijambha Trishtabdir Bhadda Setu Khaladaha Davadahana Kaushalendro Vanana Gurvarte Tyakta Rajyo Vyacharad Anuvanam Padma Padbhyam Priyaya Pani Sparshakshamabhyam Mrijapatharujoyo Harindraanujabhyam Vairupya Churpanakaya Priya Viraha Rusharopita Bruvrijamba Trishtabdir Bhadda Setur Khaladava Dahana Koshalendro Vanana Vatana. We can continue. So we can read word to word. Guru Arthe. For the sake of keeping the promise of his father.
For the sake of keeping the promise of his father.
Tyakta Rajya. Giving up the position of king.
Giving up the position of king.
Vyacharat. Wandered. Anuvanam. From one forest to another. Padma Padbhyam. By his two lotus feet. Priyaya. With his very dear wife, Mother Sita. Pani Sparsha Akshamabhyam. Which were so delicate that they were unable to bear even the touch of Sita's palm. Mrijita Patharujo. Whose fatigue due to walking on the street was diminished. Yeah. The Lord who Harindra Anujabhyam, accompanied by the king of monkeys, Hanuman, and his younger brother Lakshmana. Vairupyat, because of being disfigured. Surpanakya, of the Rakshasi demoness, named Surpanaka. Priya Viraha, being aggrieved by separation, from his very dear wife. Rusha Aropita Bruvrijambha, by flickering of his raised eyebrows in anger. Trishta, fearing. Abdihi, the ocean. Bhadda Setu, one who constructed a bridge over the ocean. Khala Dava Dahana, killer of the envious persons like Ravana. Like a fire devouring a forest. Koshala Indra, the king of Ayodhya. Avatar, be pleased to protect. Na, us. Jai. Translation and purport by His Divine Grace, A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Please repeat. To keep the promise of his father intact. Lord Ramachandra immediately gave up. The position of king. And accompanied by his wife. Mother Sita. Wandered from one forest to another. On his lotus feet. Which were so delicate. That they were unable to bear. Even the touch of Sita's palms. The Lord was also accompanied. By Hanuman. The king of monkeys. Or by another monkey, Sugriva. And by his own younger brother, Lord Lakshmana.
and his own younger brother Lord Lakshmana,
both of whom
both of whom
gave him relief
gave him relief
from the fatigue of wandering
from the fatigue of wandering
in the forest.
in the forest.
Having cut off the nose and ears
Having cut off the nose and ears
of Surpanaka,
of Shurpanaka,
thus disfiguring her,
thus disfiguring her,
the Lord was separated from Mother Sita.
the Lord was separated from Mother Sita.
He therefore became angry,
He therefore became angry,
moving his eyebrows
moving his eyebrows,
and thus frightening the ocean.
thus frightening the ocean.
Who then allowed the Lord
Who then allowed the
to
Lord
construct a bridge to cross the ocean?
to construct a bridge to cross the ocean.
Subsequently,
Subsequently,
the Lord entered the kingdom of Ravana
the Lord entered the kingdom of
to
Ravana,
kill him
kill him
like a fire devouring a forest.
like a fire devouring a forest.
May that Supreme Lord,
May Raj Supreme Lord
Ramachandra,
Ramachandra
give us all protection.
give us all protection.
Jai Ramachandra Bhagavan ki
Jai.
Om Jnanatimirandasya Jnananjana Chakshurunmilitamena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha Shri Chaitanya Manobhishtam Sthapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kadamahyam Dadati Swapadatitam Vandeham Shri Guru Shri Utapalakamalam Shri Guru Vaishnavamscha Shri Rupam Sadhu Jatam Sahaganatam Tam Tam Sajivam Sadvaitam Savadutam Paridana Shahitam Shri Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Pada Sangaramita Shri Vishakatamscha Hey Krishna Karuna Sindhu Dina Bandha Jagatpate Gopesha Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namostate Tapta Kanchana Gaurangi Shri Radhe Vrindavaneshwari Vishavan Devi Pranamami Haripriye Mancha Kalpatarubhyascha Kripa Sindhubhyo Vachapapitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Shri Vasadi Gaur Bhaktavinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Ram 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 Hare Hare Mukam karoti vachalam Hare Krishna. Sorry for choosing the longest verse. The Sanskrit is so long. I was trying to last night figure out the meter for this, which I don't know, honestly. But this verse is so beautiful that if Prabhupada gives the purport for this, he has to write the whole Ramayana. So Prabhupada didn't give any purport. So Sukadeva Goswami, as he's describing to Maharaj Parikshit, all the Lord's beautiful features, his entourage, his incarnations. This is just before beginning of the 10th canto of Srimad Bhagavatam. Mukharavindam Dashamam Prapullam. Before he gets to the lotus feet of the lotus face of Srimad Bhagavatam, the 10th canto, he's describing the pastimes of Lord Ramachandra in only 2 chapters. Just canto 9, chapter number 10 and 11. That's all. How many verses can we guess? Less than 100. Just 91 verses. And in that, he kind of summarizes the entire Ramayana here in this beautiful verse. So the context of this, the 2nd canto of Srimad Bhagavatam, right, when Sukadeva Goswami starts speaking, he's saying that the process of bhakti is the best, easiest process to attain perfection, and even 7 days that you have is more than enough. And he gives the example of one king. Anybody remembers which king? He says, this king achieved Katvanga Maharaj. Yes. He said, when the Jnanis and the Ashtanga yogis, they said, perform this process. He asked, how long will it take? Bahunam Janmanam, and they said, no Janma, I have only 7 days left. So he said, Maharaj Katvanga, within 1 moment, he attained perfection. And he left it there and he said, Bhakti is the prime process. And then he goes into Sarga, Visarga, those sections that we're discussing. And here in the 9th canto, in the previous chapter, he's describing the descendants of the Surya Vansha. And there he gives a few verses to Katvanga Maharaj. And he says, Maharaj Katvanga was such a wonderful devotee that from the beginning of his life, he was only interested in serving the Supreme Personality of Godhead. He had no other material desires. And we might think, then why did he go and fight for the demigods for so long? Even Bhagavatam describes that Ete Chamsha Kalapumsa Krishnastu Bhagavan Swayam Indrare Vyakulam Lokam Hridayanti Yuge Yuge. Krishna keeps coming on his incarnations over and over and over. Indrare Vyakulam Lokam. Whenever the demons, the enemies of Indra, they come and attack the demigods.
So this time also they have attacked, and to serve Krishna, Katvanga Maharaj said, yes, I will help fight. And he defeated the demigods. And then he could have asked anything. The demigods were so pleased when they won the battle. They said, you ask what you want. It's like you do a big project for your CEO. And he says, what position you want, I'll give right now. And how much? Blank check. And here Katvanga Maharaj is asking, tell me when I'll get fired. And the CEO says, tomorrow. Then he says, I don't want the job. I'm resigning right now. So the demigods could have offered anything. He said, how long do I have? He said, 1 moment. And that 1 moment, he just resigns from everything else, focuses his mind, his attention, his consciousness on the Supreme Personality of Godhead and goes back to the spiritual world. And is describing after King Katvanga was his son, Dirghabahu. And then after Dirghabahu comes Maharaj Raghu, from whom Raghuvansha, right, became very popular. And from Raghu comes Aja. Aja's son was Dasharath. And from Dasharath Maharaj appears the Chaturviha forms of the Supreme Lord, Vasudev Sankarshan, Aniruddha Pradyumna, who appear as Rama, Lakshmana, Bharata, Shatrughna. And they have appeared again here, Paritranaya Sadhuna, Vinashaya Dushkritam, as Krishna said, to destroy the demons and re-establish the principles of religion. And he summarizes this Ramayana in just a few verses. And the summary is here that we studied. And we all know, we have all heard, we all have been hearing about this since childhood. But why did Parikshit Maharaj get only a few verses, just a synopsis of Ramayana? Actually, if you think about it, Ramayana is so vast. Charitram Raghunathasya Shatakoti Pravistharam, it's described. Shatakoti, how much is Shatakoti? Shata is 100, Koti, 100 crore verses. Ekekaksharam Pumsam, even one verse, one letter of this can take away the sinful reactions from the heart. 100 crores is there in Brahmaloka. And I was counting how many is 100 crore verses. Srimad Bhagavatam is how many verses? 18,000. So Srimad Bhagavatam set, we have 2 boxes that we distribute. Prabhu distributes so many, all the devotees here. If you distribute 55,000 sets, how much verses are there? That is actually there in Ramayana. And Ekekaksharam Pumsam, every single verse of this can destroy the sins from the core. Even Sukadeva Goswami describes this in 11th canto, in the 9th canto, 11th chapter, 23rd verse. He says, Pumso Ramacharitam Shravanair Upaharayan Anrashamya Paro Rajan Karma Bandir Vimuchyate. O King Parikshit, anyone who orally receives the narrations concerning the characteristics of Ramachandra's pastimes will be ultimately free from the disease of envy and thus be liberated from the bondage of fruitive activities. So it's so powerful. I heard one class, Amarendra Prabhu says, these 100 crore verses, Lord Shiva got access to it. And he distributed, because Vaishnavanam Yathashambho is so merciful, so compassionate. 33 crores to the upper planetary systems. He gave 33 crore verses to middle planetary systems, 33 crores to the lower planets. He was left with 1 crore. That 1 crore also he distributed. 33 lakhs, 33 lakhs, 33 lakhs, 1 lakh. Then 33,000, 33,000, 33,000, 1,000. Like that, he went down to 1 verse. And that 1 verse he had, Anushtup Chanda, 4 lines, 8 syllables each, 8 fours are 32, 10, 10, 10. He also distributed. He was left with only 2 syllables. What were the 2 syllables? Rama. And with that Rama, Sri Rama Govinda Mukunda Shaurya, he's chanting the names of Ramachandra. Because this name of Sri Ram is so powerful, is so sweet. Ramante Yogino Nante Satyananda Chidatmani. Iti Rama Padavanaso Parabrahma Vidhiyate. This Rama is so sweet, so beautiful. Chandogya Upanishad says, to the left of Ramachandra is happiness, to the right of Ramachandra is happiness. In front, back, inside, outside, everything about Rama is extremely blissful. Satyananda Chidamani. Those yogis who have lost taste for everything in this material world, they are attracted to this name of Rama. It is so sweet, so mellow. And in the purport of the first canto, Prabhupada says, who is Rama? When we chant Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Recently I read it. Many years back, I was in the Lotus building, on the top floor, and my Guru Maharaj was giving class. And one devotee asked the same question, that what is Rama in this Hare Krishna Mahamantra? And he said that Rama can refer to Sita Ram, Ramachandra. It can reference Balarama. It can reference who else? Krishna himself, Parashurama. Prabhupada actually tells this in the purport of the first canto. So for us devotees, it can be Krishna, right? Rakara Srimati Radha. So Ra Kara is Srimati Radha. Makara Madhusudana. Rupa Goswami says that Radharani and Madhusudana, Dvayo Vigraha, these two forms of bliss, Samyogaha, when they come together, Rama iti abhidhiyate, that is Rama, Radharani and Madhusudana. But for a devotee, for Murari Gupta, it would be Ramachandra. So it is so sweet, it is so blissful. So 100 crore verses. And if you look at what Ramayana we have access to, it is Valmiki Ramayana, as Prabhupada says here in the purports, that is the root of the sources of Ramayana that we have access to. So you have different Ramayans, Ramacharitam, Ramacharitamanus. You have different states. They have different versions of Ramayana, but they all come from Valmiki Ramayana. And Valmiki, he's singing this beautiful pastimes of Ramachandra. Kujantam Rama Rameti, Madhuram Madhuraksharam, Arohya Kavita Shaka, Vande Valmiki Kokulam. Like if you have heard of cuckoo, right? The cuckoo sings, it makes that sound. Right? Here it's described that Kujantam Rama Rameti. Here is Valmiki, who is singing like a sweet cuckoo bird. Madhuram Madhuraksharam. Every single syllable of this Ramayana is so sweet, is full of madhuryata, very sweet. And Aruhya Kavita Shaka, he is sitting on the branch of Kavita, of poetry, and he is singing this beautiful Ramayana. So 24,000 verses we have access, 100 crore verses there. Why did Parikshit Maharaj get to hear only a few verses? Any guesses? Why would Sukadev? Because if every syllable can destroy the sins from the core of your heart, then why did he just summarize this and go on?
Because of time.
Because of time, one reason, yes. How long he had? Maybe a couple days. It's almost at the 10th canto of Srimad Bhagavatam, yes. But even if there is less time, this is also so purifying. So what does he say here? He says in the previous verse to this, he's telling Parikshit Maharaj that verse number 2, let me see, chapter 10. Yeah. Tasya anucharitam rajan rishibhihi tattvadarshibihi. Tasya anucharitam rajan. O Rajan, O Parikshit Maharaj, Tasya anucharitam. The charitam or the pastimes of him, of Ramachandra, anu. Many times. Rishibhihi tattvadarshibihi. When you were a king, right? All these years after your forefathers, your parents, when they left this world, when the Pandavas departed, you were the king for so long. And I know, I've seen that every day you used to sit down in your beautiful courtroom, and there used to be Rishibhihi Tattvadarshibihi, great sages who used to sing Ramayana to you. And you used to hear that over and over again. Shrutim hi varanitam bruhi. These great sages used to hear about Ramayana, and they would describe the glories of Ramachandra. Tvaya Sita Patehi Muhu. Muhu. Muhu means over and over again. You've heard it so many times. Because you've heard it so many times, I am just summarizing this for you. And this was the culture in India, right? When our forefathers, no electricity, no internet, no Netflix, no Amazon Prime, no television. They used to finish dinner early, and they used to spend so many hours discussing Ram Katha. And that was the culture. But now, with so much technology, there is no time. Right? We are so engrossed with so many WhatsApp messages, Facebook messages, this, that. But that was the culture. Once in the temple in India, Sannyasi was giving Bhagavatam class on a Sunday. And there were only a couple of brahmacharis. Nobody else was there. So yes, what happened? This Ramayana being aired on Doordarshan. So So the devotee said, actually, Maharaj, Ramayana got over. Now India-Pakistan match has started. India is batting first. So of course, the trend gradually moved towards from hearing Ram Katha to watching Ram Katha to watching India-Pakistan match to cable television to internet to going away from the lotus feet of Ramachandra. So even when Krishna was very young, Mother Yashoda used to recite these beautiful pastimes of the appearance of Ramachandra, his beautiful pastimes, and Krishna used to hear. She used to say, there was a great king Ramachandra who was born to Dasharath Maharaj and Kausalya. Krishna was like, And he got married to a very beautiful girl, Sita. And Krishna was like, And Krishna is relishing his own pastimes. And then one day, after Surpanaka's nose was chopped off, she instigated Ravan, who came in guise of a sannyasi, and he captured Sita. He kidnapped Sita. Krishna immediately stood up. Hey, Lakshman, bring my bow. I want to go and kill. Mother Yashoda is like, what? I have not finished the story. How do you know all of this? Krishna would be like, these are my pastimes. Krishna, she would be like, sit down. This is only time pass that you like to do. Just hear the stories. So she used to hear Ramayana. When Lord Shiva came, Shiva wanted to see this beautiful Krishna. And she would tell, no, oh Shiva, I don't know who you are. You have come in the guise of a sannyasi. You might be like Ravan. You might want to take away my Lala from me. So she has heard. She has relished when Krishna also was ruling Dwarka. In the afternoon times, Krishna would spend 2 to 3 hours, I've heard, hearing Ram Katha. Maharaj, Kulashekar, Radhanath Maharaj describes in one of his classes that he would like to hear Ram Katha so much. And in his courtroom, there would be devotees who were reciting Ram Katha. And they would recite only the good portions because he would get into the mood. One day they came to the portion where the 14,000 Rakshasas in Dandakaranya were attacking Ramachandra, and he summoned his whole army. Jai Shri. And he said, let's attack. We have to help Ramachandra. And all of the Senapatis, they're confused. They're like, this is a story. This happened many thousands of years ago. But he's in that mood. He asks the whole army, the commander, and he's charging towards Dandakaranya. And the ministers are like, they're surprised. They're like, what do we do? They sent one messenger to go ahead and come back with the news that, oh, Ramachandra defeated all of them. Once he got the news, he was so happy and he returned back. And then they told, you Kathakar, you only tell the nice pastimes. Ramachandra has appeared. And then there's a festivity in the whole kingdom, filled with lights and celebrations and pomp and music and dance. And one day the Kathakar, he was on vacation and he sent his son. And the son came to Aranyakanda, where Ravan is coming to kidnap Sita. And what happens? Kulashekar Maharaj, he again calls the army. Too late. They said, no. He's like, no, this is what happened. And he charges towards Sri Lanka. He goes to Rameshwaram, and then he's riding his horse and he goes into the ocean because he is in that mood of absorbing. These pastimes are sometimes prakat, sometimes aprakat. For those who have the faith, for those who are engrossed in these pastimes, they are eternally manifest because these are the pastimes of the Lord. And when he is into the ocean, actually Ram, Sita, Lakshman, they actually appear in front of him and they come and they said, yes, that he has Swayam Darshan of Ramachandra. And Ramachandra says, I have defeated Ravana. And then he returns back. So these pastimes were being sung, being heard. And now we can see the great transition in culture in India that we have gone so far away from. And had it not been for Srila Prabhupada's books, for the devotees who are singing, who are chanting, even I would have been just engrossed with gross materialism, which I am still. But again, we have the mercy of Srimad Bhagavatam. So last week, Prabhuji's and some of us, we got the very divine mercy of getting the mercy of Vapu Association of Spiritual Master, Holiness Jayapataka Swami Maharaj. And we were serving him personally. Very small portion of our association could be Vapu. Most of it is Vani, is hearing his instructions. But when we get that Vapu association, we have to make the most out of it. And the spiritual master, we could see, he has taken on that mood of being vulnerable just for the sake of giving us service so that we can perform some devotional service. And by performing the devotional service, we can feel that connection, that reciprocation, like a son performing service to his father. Right? In that mood, the relationship, the sweetness, the bonding, the love in the heart increases more and more and more. He would have tens of thousands of devotees who would want to perform that service, but he's so merciful. He gave us a small opportunity. And in that opportunity, we find that connection. And similarly, Ramachandra's mood, as I was reflecting, is the mood of serving his servants by letting his servants serve him. As Vishnu, the Devatas go to him, they're like, we need nectar. He says, churn the milk ocean. Then he says, oh, how do we churn? We need a churning rod and a rope. He says, here is Vasuki, here is Mandalachala mountains. And then they cannot churn, and Vishnu himself helps. Vasuki is spitting out fire. And they say, oh, Vishnu, help us again. And Vishnu comes as thunderstorms. And again, to reduce the heat of Vasuki's fire. And again, they said, we need some base. Vishnu comes as Kurmadev. And they said, oh, but then this mountain is moving on Kurmadev's back. He comes with this 1,000-armed form holding. He's like, I can only churn and give you the nectar. Then the nectar comes, then he says, we need to distribute. He comes as Mohini Murti. He's like, I don't know what I will do with you. But Vishnu takes care of everything. He maintains the demigods. Whenever there's problem, demigods come, oh, Vishnu, please help us. Mother Earth takes the form of a cow and he says, okay, don't worry, Baba, I'll come. As Ramachandra, what is it for him? Right? His own internal potency, Sita Devi, Ravan is like nothing. Why would he need to take the help of Sugriva, Hanuman, of Guha, of all of these personalities, of monkeys? Here in this world, if we take the help of one monkey to perform our task, people would laugh. They would be like, taking the help of a monkey. And here is the Supreme Lord. Kim chitramachyutatavai tavashesha bandhu dase vananyo sharaneshu atmasatvam yorochet sahamrigai svayamishwaranam Srimad Kirita Tatapitita Padapita. The great demigods, Srimad Kirita Tatapitita Padapita, they are putting their helmets which have beautiful, beautiful ornaments bedecked on them at the lotus feet of Ramachandra, who has put his beautiful lotus feet on the cushion, on a soft cushion. And that Ramachandra, that Supreme Personality of Godhead, he has taken the help. Yorochet Saham Mrigai Swayam Ishwaranam. He is Swayam Ishwara, but he is taking the help of these monkeys. Kim Chitram Achyuta. How amazing is this pastime that he is engaging all of them in his service. He, as we could see here in this verse, he is just glancing at the ocean, and the personality of the ocean is appearing and saying, oh, I'm so sorry, Ramachandra. A few years back, I went to Madurai and Rameshwaram. Yes, where the Setu was being built, right? We can even still see the Setu in some pictures from the satellite images I've seen. Rameshwaram, very beautiful place. And when Ramachandra glanced at the ocean, then we could see that the personality of the ocean appeared and he said, yes, I will let you make the Setu, the bridge to go to Sri Lanka. And that same Ramachandra takes the help of Guha to cross the river. And this Guha is very intelligent. He's saying, wow, how amazing, Ramachandra is taking my help. I'm being the boatman to carry Ramachandra across. Let me take more mercy. He's saying that actually, Ramachandra, I've heard a story. In that story, you had put your lotus feet on a stone, and that stone turned into a beautiful girl, Ahalya. So I actually have a daughter, and my wife has given an ultimatum: until you find a good husband for my daughter, don't come home. Now, if you put your lotus feet, the dust of your lotus feet on my boat, and if this boat turns into another girl, I'll have one more daughter. Now I'll have to get 2 daughters married. I cannot afford to take this risk, oh Ramachandra. So let me do one thing. I will scrape away the dust from your lotus feet. Ramachandra says, sure. And he scrapes the dust from Ramachandra's lotus feet and sprinkles it on all the devotees. Haribol, everyone is so ecstatic. And then he says, but there are some particles of dust who are so dedicated to your lotus feet that they don't want to leave your lotus feet. So I have to go to the next level and wash your lotus feet. Ramachandra says, okay. And he's washing Ramachandra's lotus feet and he's sprinkling that water on all the devotees. And in this way, Ramachandra has very beautiful interactions with him. Whether it's Lakshmana, Agnyam, Aranyam, Yadi, Ramam Pravishyasi. If there is a forest fire, anything, first Lakshmana goes in. And Lakshmana makes sure that it is not too hot for the soft, tender body of Ramachandra. And then only he lets Ramachandra go. Any danger, any problem, he first faces it. That is the mood, the servitude that Lakshmana has towards Ramachandra. Similarly, Ramachandra is taking the help of Sugriva, of Hanuman, of so many Angada, all these different monkeys, all these wonderful personalities, so that he can develop the relationship with him. But of course, if you come to Krishna, then Krishna takes it even one level deeper. Krishna serves by serving them. This beautiful verse in Srimad Bhagavatam describes Saratya Parshada Sevana Sakya Dautya. Parikshit Maharaj is actually going from kingdom to kingdom and they're all glorifying. Because Krishna has disappeared, his forefathers have disappeared. They are telling how wonderful, how fortunate you are, how fortunate your forefathers were that they got the association of Krishna, who was a Saratya. He was a charioteer of your grandfather. Saratya Parshada Sevana Sakya Dautya. He was a message carrier. Virasananu Gamana. Stavana Pranaman. He was also a night watchman with a sword in hand. He used to guard outside of the camp. He used to take care of the slippers when there was Rajasuriya Yagna going on. He would pay obeisances to Yudhishthir Maharaj, glorifying Yudhishthir Maharaj. Snigdeshu Pandashu. And that malleable Pandavas. Jagat Pranatim Cha Vishnu. That person was Vishnu himself. Who was Sri Krishna, the origin, Sri Krishna. Bhaktim karoti nripadas charanaravinde. Hearing these pastimes, love was infused in the heart of Parikshit Maharaj. When he saw that Supreme Lord is one in principle. Whether he comes as Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, Ramachandra, Krishna, Vishnu, in principle he is one. But in mood, he gets sweeter and sweeter and sweeter. Right? Ramachandra even sweeter by letting them engage in his service. Krishna even sweeter by personally serving his own servants. Mahaprabhu even sweeter by being even a slave. He's putting a blade of grass in his teeth and he's begging, please chant the names of Hari. Chant the names of Krishna. Nindanta Pulakot Karina Vikasan. As he's chanting the mood of Radharani, he is having Haridas, having Nityananda Prabhu fall at the feet of every single person, whether it be a Hindu or a Muslim or a man or a woman, whoever, even animals he would give. So that is the mercy, that is the mood of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. So this is Ramachandra, and as Ramachandra it's described here, he is wandering through the forests. And in Chitrakoot also he's wandering barefoot. And as he's wandering, sometimes thorns, which are so painful, they pierce the lotus feet of Ramachandra. And at night, Lakshman is massaging the lotus feet of Ramachandra. As Lakshman is massaging the lotus feet of the Lord, he sees these thorns and they are like thorns which are sticking in his heart. Because in that mood of servitude, he cannot bear to see his Lord, his master going through any pain. And he's trying to take away the thorns. And Ramachandra says, no, don't take these thorns away from my lotus feet. And Lakshmana is surprised. He's like, how do I do this? He continues his service. 1 day, 2 days, 1 week, 2 weeks. And then he can't take it. He comes to Mother Sita and he tells, oh, Mother Sita, I cannot see. Next day, more thorns get pierced into the lotus feet of Ramachandra. And how soft is Ramachandra's lotus feet? This verse describes. When Sita Devi first got married and she came down from the palanquin, the residents and the servants of Ayodhya, they would take flower petals, they would trim the edges so that there would be no sharpness of even the rose petals and the flower petals, and they laid it down on the floor. And when Sita Devi put her lotus feet on the floor, she made a little bit of a reaction because that hurt her lotus feet. That is how soft her lotus feet is. If her lotus feet is so soft, how soft is her lotus palms? With that palms, when she massages Ramachandra, Ramachandra couldn't take it because that's how soft his lotus feet are. And that lotus feet of Ramachandra is being pierced by these thorns. And after 2 weeks, more and more and more thorns are being pierced. Ramachandra is refusing these thorns from being taken out. Sita Devi finally comes and asks, "Oh my Lord, please don't give us so much suffering." Even Krishna, when he would run in the forests, the gopis would say, "Madhava, Madhava, Madhav, Madhav, Madhava. Don't run, oh Madhav. We cannot bear to see this." And Krishna would say, "If you don't give the cows shoes, I will also not take shoes." Lokanath Maharaj says that then the cows would go around Vrindavan Dham and they would powder all the sharp stones into soft raja, soft sand. And even now, if you go to Ramandreti, different places in Vrindavan, you have soft sand. That is the cows who are powdering these stones into soft, pure sand. So that is how soft Krishna's lotus feet are, how soft Ramachandra's lotus feet are. And when Sita Devi is asking Ramachandra, why? Ramachandra says that Sakradeva means one time. Sakrat Gita Amrita Snanam, one time you take bath of Gita. Sakradeva Murari Samarcha, Bhaja Govindam Sam, one time. Sakradeva Prapannosmi. Ramachandra says, one time Prapanna. Yes, Aham Tava Asmi. If a devotee even one time says, "I surrender unto you," Ramachandra says, "Abhayam Aham Tasmai Dadami." Abhayam, always. Tasmai Sarvada Dadami iti pratignya mama. This is my vow. I cannot waver from my vow. I have vowed that if a devotee even one time tells that I have surrendered unto you, and however hard it might be for me, even if it is a thorn that has stuck to my lotus feet one time, even if it's a thorn, I will never pull the thorn out. How Krishna says, right? Apichet suduracharo, bhajate mam ananya bhakti. If a person performs ananya bhakti, even if he's performing sinful activities, sadhureva samanthavya, I will always make sure. Tell, oh Arjuna, my devotee will never perish. That is the mood of Krishna. That is the mood of Ramachandra. The Acharyas they describe when Putana, she didn't know initially that this was the Supreme Lord who had appeared. Putana later says, when Krishna is not letting her go, Putana says, "Hare, let me go. I made a mistake. Had I known that you are the Supreme Lord." Vibhudyatam balika marika graham sara saratma sanimile tekshana anantam aropayat ankamantakam. Anantam, she didn't know that he was Ananta. She thought he's just a baby and she put him Antakam for her own demise. She put Lord on his lap. And Putana is saying, no, Krishna, get out of me. Krishna says, the Acharyas describe that Krishna says, I know only to hold my devotee. I don't know how to let go of my devotee. Once a devotee has come to me with whatever intention, even if the devotee says, let me go, I cannot let go. Devotee says it's like a mafia. You can only get in. You cannot get out. So sometimes it's difficult, right? We may also reject somebody, but Krishna never rejects. You can see beautiful flower garlands, right, on the beautiful body of Sri Krishna. You can see the leaves can be green. Even if a plant is uprooted out of the soil, even then the leaves are green. The flower is fresh. Similarly, when performing bhakti, sometimes the anarthas might be uprooted, but still we can see it. It takes some time. A fan can be switched off, but it takes some time for the fan to gradually stop. So Krishna sees it. This is like a hospital, and we are all trying to different extents. Prabhupada says we have to be sincere. One has to be serious. But for some time, the fan's blade can be rotating. The leaves can be green. But with time, for sure, the blades will stop. The leaves will dry up. The flowers will dry up. So similarly, it is some austerity. We have been attached to material things for so long. And the Lord is very, very merciful. So, it's past 9 o'clock. Today we will be hearing about different pastimes. At 1 o'clock also we have Nectarian Ram Leela. And by hearing this, Acharya Tulsidas also describes Thumaka Chalata Ramachandra, how Ramachandra is walking, how every step of Ramachandra is so sweet.
Bhajata Payajaniya, very beautiful. Right? All these acharyas have described so many beautiful songs, poetry, and then if we can relish it, we can hear about this, we can meditate on this, then we can purify ourselves. So I'll stop here. You can forgive me if I spoke anything wrong. Hare Krishna. Srila Prabhupada ki, Ramachandra Bhagavan ki. Prabhupada.
Can I ask a question? Yeah, Woody, actually, one aspect of Lord Ramchandra which really touches my heart is actually his detachment. How detached he was. Like when he had to go to the forest, then he immediately, without any hesitation, he left. So, how can become inspired? I become inspired by that detachment.
You are in Saffron, Prabhu. You have to tell me, Prabhu.
Serious.
By associating with devotees like you, Prabhuji, who are detached.
No, I'm just very.
The Lord is full of Shat Aishwarya, one of the 6 Aishwaryas. Is
In that way, you're wearing white. White is
all colors. But one of the 6 opulences of the Lord is renunciation. Even when Krishna also left Vrindavan, that can be even more for Krishna, leaving his dear devotees. You have to tell me, Prabhuji.
No,
I have no qualification. Associating with.
You have to answer. I mean, that aspect of Ramayana also, I want to hear a little bit.
Good question, Prabhu. Next question. I can speak what I have,
Yes.
Prabhuji. What I don't have, I cannot do.
No, but something, what was Ramchandra's mood when he left?
Again, I read Ramayana, Krishna Dharma Prabhu's Ramayana many years back, I think last year, the year before. And actually, the mood of Ramayana, actually, that gets to the crux of the mood of Ramayana, right? The mood of separation. Prabhupada there in the purport describes that whether it's separation of Ramachandra from his kingdom, but more so separation from Sita Devi when Sita Devi left. Prabhupada says here that it has an external and an internal significance. Prabhupada said externally, for devotees, the significance is that material attachment, however deep it might be, is very painful. But internally, the Lord is enjoying Adirasa. It's Viraha Bhav, it is Vipralamba Bhav with his consort, with his devotees in Ayodhya as well. And that Vipralamba, the Lord is relishing. But externally for us, it shows as lessons. And there's so many classes by Gauranga, by so many devotees about the lessons from Ramayana. So what you were asking, I had one more train of thought, I forgot, but yes, separation from the devotees of the Lord. So that is for what Prabhupada says is external and internal significance. I lost my train of thought, but yes, that's what I can think of.
Bharat also, when he ruled the
Yes.
kingdom, then he just kept the lotus, what is it, the padukas of Ramchandra,
Yes.
and that how detached he was.
Yes, like even Rama and the way it's composed, right? So the mood of Valmiki also, from Shoka comes Sloka when he sees that the 2 cranes, when they are pierced by the arrow of the hunter, then out of Shoka he spurts out that curse to the hunter, and Ya Kroncha Mithuna Dehim Avadhi Kama Mohitam. He's saying, out of desire, these 2 birds have come together, but now you have, with your arrow, created so much of suffering. So even there's Bhagavad Gita, the lamentation of Arjuna, because of Bhagavad Gita comes, or Bhagavatam, when Parikshit Maharaj discussed. Similarly here, when in the Shoka, when he's lamenting, Brahma says, I have sat on your tongue and I have given you this meter. And it's mainly personified when Ramachandra has to leave Ayodhya. And in that mood, there is separation with all the devotees from the Lord. and then again from Sita Devi, from Ramachandra. So it is separation for the Lord, but the Lord, of course, is full of 6 opulences, and he is personifying this renunciation. So, but how associating with those who have that quality? It's very important. Again, when we got some physical association of our spiritual master, right? There's some qualities, some inspiration that, like even when Hari Smara Hari Prabhu, one of Prabhupada's disciples, he also describes that how in the ancient days, the sannyasis were not allowed to leave the Bharatvarsha and go outside, because when they get close association within certain meters, a few feet of association of another person, that consciousness of that person gets an influence on us. But here Prabhupada came and Prabhupada changed the whole world. He spread his association. Again, if we are powerful, then we can make that. But otherwise, for most of us, we need the association. Like even in Udupi Krishna temple, if you go, the next sannyasi is already in the making. They already know, based on astrology, based on certain indications, they know this person will be the next Mathadipati and he will be the next sannyasi. So whenever he goes, I would go every day to Udupi Krishna temple when I was in college, and I would to stand my rounds, and I would see. And when that boy would come, he would be filled and surrounded by 2 or 3 circles of other young boys, brahmacharis, who would be chanting Vedic hymns, who would be around him, so that that association is kept, so that he does not get influenced by the, even in the air, by the modes. So similarly, for devotees, Prabhupada always says this, that association is very important. For those who are in the renounced order, they would need association of those who are in the renounced order, so that they can have the protective barrier. Of course, Prabhupada also says chanting 16 rounds in the morning creates that barrier also. So association of devotees who personify those qualities.
That's why I need your association.
I need Prabhupada. Jai. Hare Krishna, Srila Prabhupada ki Jai.
Yeah.
Jai. Thank you so much, Prabhuji, for such a wonderful narration. We're very grateful, Prabhuji. So enlivening. Thank you so much.